Hello everybody, welcome back to the channel, jicolourist. We are on to week 11 of our festive coloring. We are stepping it up here in November and December, but as I always say, color at your own pace. I'll be doing, this is a WIP series, so I don't finish a page here with you on screen. I do the setup and kind of my thoughts on how I'm going to approach a page. Then we do some of the page together. Hopefully it's an interesting part of the page for you and something a little different in each segment so that we're not always covering the same items. This is a book I bought from Book Outlet, and it is a 24 Advent window coloring. The name of the illustrator is quite difficult for me to say. It's Pimlada, and then I'm going to just ignore the last name, but it is in the video description of all of these videos, and I hope that you take a look and find. She does have another couple of these books that are large house shapes. There's an autumn book that kind of looks more like a cottage home, and then there's this book. So we are on page 11, or we are on day 12, and it is the garden center. I have added a bunch of pieces of paper behind because this book is getting to be a little bit bumpy, and I'm trying to eliminate as much of the bumpy feel, so I will just keep adding a little bit more paper as we go along. So this is the garden center. It is a glass house, so immediately I'm thinking, how am I going to make all of these little windows look like glass while still being able to color the things? And this is from the outside looking in, so this is the outside. So all of these items that are showing in these windows here, I envision are on the inside of the building, and then this and this are on the outside of the building, as well as probably these are on the outside. So that's how I'm looking at this. It's a little bit daunting because there is so much glass this time. However, I think I have figured out a way that I want to do it. I'm going to use some different mediums this time that I haven't used for quite a while. I am bringing out my Brute Ferner macaron pencils, so I will be using Horizon Blue, and I will also be using Ivory. I did bring out cream, however I did a little bit of swatching, and these are the colors here. So the Horizon Blue is the very, very light blue, and then the cream is a quite yellow, and then the ivory is kind of nice. So if I'm looking for more of a bright, I will use the cream, but for most part I think I'm going to be using the blue and the ivory. I am going to use color pencil, and then I am going to do something on top of that color pencil, and that's why I am switching back to pencils, so that I know for sure that whatever I put on top is not going to react with my pencils. So that's the plan. I'm going to do this as a probably a wooden door. These are going to be bricks, so what I might go off camera and quickly do is some of the obvious items, so that those are completed. Then I'll bring you back and we will do the inside pieces and a bunch of the windows together, and then we will bring in my new idea for making the windows look a little bit sparkly. Okay, I'll go off and get some done, and I'll see you back here shortly. Hey there, it's Jody. Although I said I would go off and do this on my own, I thought I actually would bring you back because I am using a different medium than previously, and I am using my Staedtler tinted watercolor graphite pencils, and they are very much similar and complement to the Derwent Graphitint, and I thought that I would do the brick in that, and maybe even the door, and they are water-soluble graphite, so I'm going to be using a water brush with them as well. And so I've got a little cloth here to clean that off. Just going to move my paper down below. This one here, they don't have numbers. Sorry, they have numbers, but they don't have names. There may be names on the Staedtler website itself, but this one is G73, and it is a brown. So I'm going to go and I'm going to do the grout area. And then I will come in, and I'm going to do all the coloring first, and then I'll come in with the water brush pen. You could also use a Tombow water soluble blender pen, so that would be this. I don't mix alcohol blenders with my water soluble items. I just use water soluble with water soluble. You don't have to be super neat, so these end up going pretty fast. I'll zoom you in a little bit if I can. Okay, there you are zoomed in. I hope that's a little better. As I was saying, you don't have to be super neat. You just want to go light though, so that you're not gouging into the paper. You're just leaving the pigment on top of the paper. And that way when you use your water brush, it will dissolve it without having to scrub. Because this is not water color paper, so you don't want to have to scrub to activate things if at all possible, because then you will start to pill your paper. So if you're having problems with that, I'll do the same to the other side. Then I'm going to come in with I have a little chart. These are all the colors that it comes in. So I've just got a little bit of a chart, and then I have them in color order or number. And so I'm probably going to pick this G2 and maybe the G9 or the G83, just to kind of give it a bit of a mixed color. Maybe I'll go with the 83. So the G2 is the reddy color, and then the G83 is the more of the gray tone. So I'll just do that on a couple of them and see if I like that. And because they're bricks, they can be all different. You can also do one color and then come back and do the other color dry on top. But let's see how these are going to look. And that's as easy as that to activate those. I have a bamboo cloth here, and I'm just going to wipe off the tip. So I'm not squeezing. My tip is damp, but I'm not squeezing it because I do want, and if this is too large, I do have a smaller tipped one. So let's grab that one. So this is a bit smaller. So I'll get it going. Okay, thought I'd bring you back. I have done all of the coloring for here, and I've kind of just mixed in the 83 in spots, kind of along the top or in the corners, kind of like that, and we'll see how that looks. I have shown you already how it looks with the water brush, and so I thought I would also bring in the Tombow water-based blender to show you how that works. So my tip is dark, and that's just from staining. It is fine. If you're concerned about that, you can always, and if it's colored, you can always see if it rubs off elsewhere, and it doesn't. So it also kind of looks quite dry, so we'll have to see if there's enough on here to actually activate. And there is. So I'm not going to rub this off on the cloth, but I will rub it off on the paper. And I find that the edges get frayed pretty quickly on this. There is a fine point as well on the other end, so we can see how that works. So I'm activating the center and then the edges, and just kind of mixing the two colors together. Certainly the brush pen goes faster, or the brush side. Each brick will look a little bit different, and that's the whole idea. So that's the Tombow brush pen. and this is the water. And with the water, I do need the cloth back. So it's whichever you prefer. If your paper is really fragile, so like Sea of Colors type paper, then the less water the better. So the Tombow is a very good option for those kind of, or paper that you're worried about bleed through or warping. Okay. And I think that those bricks are looking really good. They have that reddy brown with a bit of, how do you say, dirty, old, aged kind of look. And that's exactly what I'm going for. And that's as simple as that. That went really quickly, and I'm happy with the results. Okay, before we move away from the bricks and stuff, this is dry. I've now come back in with the same G83, which was my darker gray, and just come in and lightly go over top of any areas that are super light that I want maybe some more grittiness or older looking to some of the corners and stuff. So that's what I'm doing. I won't be reactivating it. You could if you wanted, but this just kind of adds a little bit more. So I just wanted to let you know that I am doing that. And then if there's some super light spots in between, I can also just really lightly go over some of those areas, although they don't all have to be exactly uniform. This is brick, so just some of the areas where the might have come up a little more off of the page than I wanted it to, I can do that. I just don't really want to see any whites of the paper left, and that's about all I'm looking for. So that's it. That's what I'm going to do for that. And I just thought I'd bring you back so that you can see how this looks. So this side is totally done. You'll see that this side has just been done with one coat so far. So I'll come in and do like I did over here and make it a little bit more substantial. But it goes very quick, and I just, before you go over it again with a pencil, just remember to let your paper dry. You don't want to be going over something that's wet, because that will also damage your paper. So there you go. That's my tip, and we are done for that. So I'm going to go ahead and do the door, and I'll be right back. Bringing you back while I'm activating the door. It's going to be a wooden door and a wooden frame on this garden center and glass panels. So that's how everything is. And I picked wood because there's a lot of shelves and things sitting on it, so I figured that there would need to be wood in there. So I'm sticking with the Staedtler tinted water graphite pencils, and I have selected G1, which is a green, kind of a limey green. I'll show you. I've selected G1, G73, which I've already used, and then G76, which is a darker brown, a reddy brown, and a green. On the outside of the door, I've done G1 and the darker green, the darker brown, the G73, and I've mixed those two colors dry, so they're already down. So when I go to activate, both are there, and I can mix them on the actual page itself, and that makes it a more organic look. So because this is a greenhouse, I wanted to kind of bring some of that green onto the wood itself. And I'm keeping my strokes up and down because that's the way the grain of this wood. And then I have done the dark brown just in the center slats for here, and then for this area down here I've done the green in the center and then the reddy brown on the bottom and the top, and we're going to mix those together. So you can see that there's kind of this olivey green color, and then we have the brown, or that looks like the dark brown. And I've got it just kind of lighter in the center and then darker on the edges. And you can see how rough the coloring is, so it doesn't have to be neat because you are going to be creating water soluble. And the graphite makes it gritty and dirty looking, which is exactly what I'm going for. So it's really good for outside of buildings, landscapes, that kind of stuff. Kind of like granulating watercolors, only not. This is the reddy brown here. I'll let that dry, and then if I need to come in with some dry pencils to give it a bit more definition, it will, but I like that, and I think it looks quite natural. Okay, let's start off with some of these windows, and I've decided to use the Brutferner macaron set this time, and I'm using the ivory, and I'm just kind of putting down a little bit in the center area very lightly, and then I'm taking the horizon blue, which is my lightest blue, a little bit heavier on the edges, and then blending in, but not all the way to the center. So it'll kind of give it a bit of a glowing effect because we've got more solid color on the edge of the panes, and then it blends in. So I find that if I put down the ivory first, it seems to blend in a little bit better. This one I did the ivory second, and I don't like the blend as much. So definitely I think that it's a softer blend when you put down the ivory first and then you blend into it. Now that we have got our windows done, I'm going to work a little bit more. This is almost dry enough to do some dry pencil on top, and I'm going to leave the window casing around here for now until I pick a final color, because I also have this signage up here and I want to do the same trim color here as I do around that window there and the door casing here. So I'm just going to leave that for now, and I'll start to work on some of these items over here and get them colored, because these are items that are inside the garden center themselves. Okay, here we are back, and I've done the first coat of Staedtler graphite pencils. I have used the light green and the reddish brown for all of the cross kind of smaller beams, and then I've used the darker green, which is number G5, and that is the more of a forest hunter type green, and I have done that on all of the larger beams. I've also done it around the door, these beams right here, and I've also decided to make that the garden center sign color. So that's what that's going to be. I will also do it here on the window casing here. So that is, and I've done a little bit of a heavier go over it more so that there's more graphite to move around with the water, so then I don't have to go over it as much later for a second coat. But this is how it's looking. Really happy with the whole rustic kind of weathered look. The graphite pencil really is a good tool for this type of look, and it's working quite well. So I will continue. I'm gonna scoot you down and we will do the garden center together. Then I will start working on, I've done a little bit of glaze pen across this crossbar here that goes across, and then a little bit of glaze pen on some of these tools. I did that so that the glaze pen would be drying and we'd be able to come in. We'll do the rest with colored pencil. This area up here, I'm going to use fall colors, so because there's already green on here with this, so there may be a little bit of green within these leaves here, but it's going to be more of a fall rustic autumn look, and I think that that'll be nice, and that'll complement the things that are already in the greenhouse. Okay, I'll drop you down and we will activate the sign. When I'm using these pencils, I'm also, I don't need them to be super sharp because I'm using more of a side just to rub the pigment on the page and not digging into the paper. Okay, so there's quite a heavy coat on there, and I will now just go ahead and liquefy it. Just liquefying, moving it to the edge of the, and then back. You don't need a lot of water. This is just a damp water brush. How's everybody doing with their coloring? I hope you had lots of time to do some spooky coloring as well. I got just a couple of pages done. Seems like we've been coloring for weeks, but we also haven't been really doing a lot of Christmas stuff so far. Other than a bit of like we haven't been, these festive coloring book hasn't been super Christmassy so far, so I haven't really felt like I've been coloring Christmas for 12 weeks, because there's only been a little bit on each page, and we haven't really stuck to just Christmas colors either so far. So I think this green here is probably the most I've used, and hopefully that means we won't be tired of Christmas colors when we finally get to December. Okay, I'm going to let that dry, and I'm going to scoot down the page. There is a color on the end cap for all of these pencils as well. So while they don't have color names on them, they do have a number, and they do have an end tipped. So that is quite useful. And for the dark green, I've been just leaving it all dark green. I haven't been mixing the colors. When I use the lighter green, I have been mixing it with a brown to give it more of a mossy, aged look. Outside on my deck, I have pressure treated wood, and it has a green tinge to it. So that's kind of what this reminds me of, pressure treated wood. Okay, we'll let that dry. Okay, all the studs are done, and I'm going to leave them as is. Our door is done. The windows themselves have been colored in with colored pencil, and I am going to treat them, the glass part. So I actually might do that so that you can kind of see where I'm going with it, and then we will go and do a couple of these items together. I'll do a couple of windows together, and we'll do the background inside and then the treatment, and then I'll let you go to get on with the rest of your day. But what I did is I was trying to think of how to make all of this glass look like glass and look shiny. So I went and pulled out a few of my color shift paint and my metallic paint to see what would look. So I have on a piece of paper, this is kind of a little bit kind of like heavier paper or cardstock, and what I have done is done the colors that I'm going to use. So this is the Horizon Blue Brute Ferner colored pencil, then the ivory and the cream, just so I knew what was going to be going on. I put some blue pencil down on each of these areas, and then I covered them with some top coat. So this one is the color shift paint called Blue Violet, and I did it straight on its own, and then I did some on top of pencil, and I wanted to see which one I liked best. So this was the Blue Violet shift, so that is this one right here, and then I did this one over here, which is color shift, and it is just Blue Flash. And I didn't like this, and I didn't like this. You can't really see the blue underneath, and it doesn't give a clear kind of look to the glass at all. So those two were out pretty quickly. Then I tried Dragonfly Glaze, which is also a top coat, and it is a top coat acrylic gloss finish, and it has just a very nice sheen to it, and you can still see the blue underneath, and it has blue flecks in it as well. So I'm not sure if you see that on screen very much, but it does give the look that I was hoping for. Then I also have some Craft Smart Blue Ice Pearl, and it's metallic paint, and I started using this last year during Christmas, and I noticed that it was very, very sheer. So it goes on this way, and then this is over top of the pencil. You couldn't see much of the pencil, but it did still give a nice clear. So if I wasn't going to do any pencil at all, the Blue Ice Pearl would look good as a window on there. And then I thought, okay, I also have clear glitter, so the Mod Podge Glitter Extreme, and I did that over top of the pencil as well. And this gives more of a multicolored speckles and some texture, which is fine, but I think that this one is much more subtle, and when you have this much glass on the page, I think you're going to want to go subtle. Also, this is going to provide a lot of texture, and I have not colored the back of this page yet, so that would have made this side quite bumpy and difficult to color, at least with colored pencil. I'd have to use like the Staedtler pigment pens or the Pitt pens, something like that. So I think I have decided that I'm going to go with the Dragonfly Glaze. So that's the violet, blue, green shift, and I am going to do it over top of the pencil. So we've got pencil down here. I'm going to lower the camera. I'm going to pull out my 12 well medium paint palette, shake this up a little bit, and this is by Folk Art, and I'm just going to put a little bit, don't need much, and I'm going to use a small paintbrush, and I'm going to zoom you down, and we're going to paint over this. So I'm going to make sure that I don't get it on the wood, because I want it just to be the glass that's shimmering. And you don't need a lot, it's just a top coat, but I do want to put it on fairly streak free. And this will dry, and I'll be able to show you the shimmer. Because the glass, I really want it to look like glass, and when there's this much on the face of the building, like there's more glass on this building than there is any other material. So we haven't used this Dragonfly Glaze for a while. I didn't want to use Winsor Newton Iridescent Medium for this because this has that blue shift and shimmer. So let me see if I can move the page a little bit. We'll let it dry, and I'll see how it's looking, and I'll try to shine the light so that it is showing you the sparkle. There we go. I think you see some sparkle there. Okay, that's what we're going to do, but first off, let's do a couple of the other windows. Okay, let's focus a little bit on this side of the windows. And I am going to just grab a few different browns, and I'm using polychromos, and I'm using colored pencils like I mentioned, because when it goes over, when the glaze goes over top of it, I don't want it to run at all. So this is dried now totally, and it's nice and reflective. I really like how that's looking, so I think that this will be great. I'm not going to read out all the colors because it's just whatever color you want to make your handles and such. Normally I would do a handle metal, but since we're going to be going over the item with the glaze, I don't think that having a metal handle is going to show up that great, so I'm going to limit the number of gel pens that I use. behind the windows as much as possible. I'm going to actually bring in the silver polychromos because it's pretty good actually. And since it's a shovel, I'm going to come in and use a bit of brown too, because I think it would be a little bit dirty and rusty. I don't know about you, but my shovels are not pristine. The other nice thing about the water-soluble graphite is it's quite erasable. So if you accidentally have gone over something, gone outside the line, you can erase it. You need to really erase it before you activate it with water. So okay, that's how that is looking. Okay, being careful not to touch the black glaze area, I've done the boots in some cool grays, and now I'm just taking the Brute Pruner Horizon Blue and I'm lightly coloring everything blue. Not anticipating that there's a whole lot of light here, but I'll put in just a little bit of the ivory because this is a open area. This isn't really a wall per se, this is glass, so but there will be more light coming on other areas. So just put down that so everything will get a light coloring of blue. Where I've got the ivory, I'm not going to go totally over it. I'm just going to kind of go around so that it does show up a little bit. Kind of keeping everything nice and light, and then we're going to paint as we go just so that you can see how it evolves. Otherwise, normally I would do all my coloring and then go ahead with the dragonfly glaze, but I just want to show you a few windows complete, and then I'll do the rest on my own time. This is when this meat-in palette is coming in handy because it actually has a lid, so when I'm not using it, I just cover it up. So, and again, I'm not going to go over the glaze area, but I will go over everything else, and that's just because the glaze is wet. And we're going right over top of things because all of these things are hanging inside. And these glaze areas down here have already been dried, so they're fine to go over. Okay, make sure I don't kind of look at it at an angle because I don't want any big globs of paint streaked anywhere. Don't want paint on the wood parts. Okay, I think that's good. We'll let that dry. Let's do another window and I'll cover up the palette. Just working on the plant pots here. Some sanguine is this lighter color. I've also used Venetian red and Caput Mortem. Darker on the sides to just kind of make it have that rounded, weathered kind of look. lightest color on the top, and that's cinnamon. And then it's got a plant coming out of it, so we'll have to do some greens. But let's finish off these baskets. Now that kind of looks like an earth green to me, so I'm going to grab my earth green and some burgundy. So I'm going to keep this whole area kind of green and burgundy, terracotta type colors. There, if I zoom you out a little bit, hopefully you can see better. So this is May green, and this is lemon yellow. So just a little bit of a cactus color green and some yellow for the tips. So I put the yellow down first, and now I'm just coming in with the darker on the bottom and shading up. And that's all there is to it. Okay, here we are. I'm going to do a little bit of the ivory, just to kind of around the top. I'm not going to go even underneath because I don't think that there would be a lot of light shining there. So really, this time it's just going to be around the top. Now I'm going to take the blue and I'm just going to add some blue to the whole thing, and that's just really so that the blue shift has something to pick up and sparkle on. It shows up better if there's a color underneath, and I'm coloring more on the side of the pencil than anything. And I'm not even going to go over top of where I put the ivory. Okay, that's that, and let's cover it with the glaze. And then I will leave you for a while. I'll go off and do a bunch more, and then I'll come back when there's quite a bit done, just so that you can see how the effect is going. Not going on top of the wood on the outside, but obviously on top of all of the wood and items on the inside. Okay, let me just tip it on its side so I can see if I've got it all. We'll let that dry and I'll be back to show you how it works, but in the meantime I'll go off and do a bunch of these on my own. Okay, I have done a few more. So we've got these 4 windows done, and then I did this window. Now this guy is in a little terrarium kind of thing, so what I have done is I did the ivory all within the terrarium itself, and then outside around the terrarium or the little glass dome, and then I used the blue around the edge like that. So it definitely is kind of shining a bit of a focus on the glass area itself. And I did use a little bit of gel pen on this guy here. I wanted to see how the gel pen actually works underneath the glaze, to see if there is any value in having gel pen there. And I've added a little bit of blue to the page. So far the blue and a couple of the other colors within the plants are the only extra colors I've added so far. I'll go ahead and paint these, but before I paint them, I'm going to do the ones that are empty. So just thought I'd quickly do one of those with you. And I'm going to actually grab the cream color, which is a little bit brighter. And I'm just going to do a little bit of that in the very center. So that there's a little bit, because these are bigger clear windows, so I would expect there to be a bit more light coming out of them. And then I've got the ivory. Blend the cream and the ivory kind of together. And then I'm going to bring in still the light blue, starting on the edge and kind of blending towards the lighter colors. A little heavier pressure in the corners, but not a lot. And I didn't want to use gray this time. I'm using blue because this is clear glass. Okay, so that's how that's going to look. I'll finish off this area, then we'll come back and we will do a little bit more painting of the glaze. Or actually, I'll just go ahead and put the glaze on, and I'll come back once it's dry and I'll show you how the glaze is looking on basically this whole bottom section. Okay, see you in a while. Okay, here we are, and I'm going to call it a video today. So we're gonna sign off, but I thought I would bring you back and show you how it's doing so far. It's really picking up. So I haven't done this section or this. The background is done, but I'm going to paint on afterwards. But these sections all here are all complete, and you can really see the shine when you move it. So really happy with how this turned out. I think that the dragonfly glaze was the right choice. So again, that was the Folk Art dragonfly glaze, and it is a color changing top coat, and it was violet, blue, green shift. And yeah, so happy with how this is looking. Really glad I've got a few pops of color here and there, brought in some blue to tie in with the blue down here. I'll still have some festive stuff to go on up here, but like I said, I think I'll do that in autumn colors. I'm hoping that by the end of next week, I'll be able to bring you back and show you a completed page of this one. But for today, I'll leave you here. So I hope you had fun today, and I look forward to seeing you back next video where we will be doing day 13, which is the tea shop. So there's lots of little windows, and they're all full of items from the tea store. So that's it for today. I hope you have a creative and colorful week, and I'll see you in the next video. Take care, my friends. Bye-bye.